Okay, I wanted to give you guys the same uh, little lecture speech uh, that I gave the last class about control freaks. And so I have made this list here of known control freaks, right? Politicians, generals, and visual designers. Okay. Now the reason visual designers are control freaks is because they can be control freaks. They've been allowed to be control freaks by the presence of amazing products like Adobe's products, such as Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, right? When you make a newsletter in InDesign, you can put the logo right here. You can put a giant, beautiful picture. You can put your little bio picture here in a beautiful font, and then a footer down there, maybe a tagline up here. You can do that in any Adobe product that's made for print, and everything will stay exactly where you put it and will look exactly like that when you print it out, right? Because that's what those programs do, and they do so well. What's really hard for people when they move from the visual design world to web design is that they enter this zone, the lack of control zone. And the reason is because now, when you enter the zone of designing for the web is a fluid medium. What do I mean by fluid? It changes, right? So fluid is like, fluid makes you think of water, which flows and changes, right? Rivers change the course, they cut through rocks, they make the Grand Canyon, things like that, right? It's a fluid medium. And so what that means is if you make this lovely design, right, and you're used to having it in print, and then, one of your supervisors or whatever says, okay, go ahead and translate that to a website. And so you take that and you put the logo in at exactly the same size, and you put the picture in at the same size, and you make your text into a graphic, which you're not supposed to do, and you make a little picture, and you say, I'm done, and you email that to your boss, and you put the little smiley face there, because you know he likes that. And you say, I'm done with the website, it looks great on my machine, everything's good, adios, I'm taking lunch, right? And the boss gets it, and he gets your email, and he looks at it on his phone. And it looks like crap. The logo is the wrong size, the picture is overlapping the border, the text isn't reading right because the graphic's too big, and he sends you back an angry email. What's going on, right? And what you neglected to take into your thought process is that you needed to design a fluid website that would resize itself and repurpose itself for different devices, right? And also for different operating systems. We've got Windows, we've got PCs out there, we've got Linux, and more, right? In addition, we have a whole range of products, everything from the Apple Watch to a billboard in New York City in Times Square that could potentially be displaying your website, and everything in between, right? Jonathan's giant phone, my little Apple, the iPad, the laptop, your desktops, they can all display that information. And so it needs to move and repurpose according to the device it's looking at. Now, one of the things that happens to people when they're designing is they go to their office or their home, and they have their little Apple computer. Apple, okay. Okay. And they're like, Apple computers, I look through this little window on my Apple computer and I can see the whole world the way it's meant to be, right? And so they make their little website, and they're like, da-da-da, done, and they send it off, and they neglect to look at it on PCs, and they neglect to look at it on cell phones and tablets, and they neglect to look at it on different operating systems, and on different browsers, and on different versions of browsers. What are we up to, Firefox 24, So what this is a form of myopia. And Ben's going to tell us what myopia is. Myopia is tunnel vision, right? When you are designing for a fluid medium like the internet, you can't be myopic. You can't just look at things from your perspective and say that this is the way the entire world will see it. One way to imagine people looking at your website is that every screen is a window. And right now, we have 25 people all looking into different windows, but you guys all happen to be on the same computer screen, right? But if I go outside, I'm looking at this window, Jonathan's looking in his window, right? Somebody with an iPad is looking at their window, and they're all seeing something slightly different. So what this leads us to is the Octopus template, which we know was designed to be a fluid template. And it was designed to be a template that would work in 3 different screen sizes at least. A mobile or phone size, a tablet size, and a desktop size. And what our project is to eventually design for all 3 of these sizes, starting with the mobile. Now, what I have here, what I'm showing you, is what one of my students has done for the Octopus template. They've replaced it. What they did was they replaced the logo with a logo for a company, the Food Cafe that they created. They changed the menu here so that it has an Our Menu section in it, which would be more appropriate for their restaurant. They replaced my coupon with their little picture, and they even put a little animated flash thing of a burger that is on fire, which I don't get. Okay, anyway, so they have completely replaced and accomplished Project 1B, which is to replace the items in the Octopus template with your own items that came from your mock-up, right? So we're now going to talk about how you would go about this process. And then the next logical stages that we'll work on in the coming weeks are how to reformat that for both a tablet and a desktop, because it seems very probable that the logo that you make for the phone will probably be too small when you're looking at it on a tablet size, as will these other elements, and will also probably need to be resized again for a desktop. And that's what we're learning in this process, is how to take these elements and actually make multiple versions of these elements and make multiple layouts, right? For example, the phone and the tablet are very tricky because they can be looked at, they can be viewed both vertically and horizontally, right? So you need to make sure that for both this device and this device, they look good that way. But on a computer desktop, it's really just a horizontal layout. Okay, so basically we're going to be designing 3 different layouts and using different size images in these projects. Now, how many of you guys still have access to those fluid files on your computers here where you can look at the Octopus? Some of you, okay. Let me show you, because it would probably be most beneficial to you if you re-downloaded them and just looked at them while we're looking at them. So if you go to our class website, which is located at pima.dreamco.com, so I'm just going to go there, pima.dreamco.com. And then on the left-hand side, if you will click on DAR 256 Web Design 1, and then if you will scroll down to last week's post, week 4, under the assignments section, you'll be able to click on this link called Files, 256. And you'll be able to download this folder called Fluid Files. And then you'll have to right-click on it and extract all the files, which will open them up from the zip folder. And then you'll have to open up Dreamweaver and go into that folder and open up the index.html file. Okay, I'm on a Mac, so it's a little different. Yeah. So what you do is you click on that, it downloads it, right? Then you click here and you go show it. Finder. So then you double click on this and you say extract all files. And let's extract this. Extract. Okay, so it's doing that. To your so here's the fluid files. So now we take the index and we right click and we say open with Adobe Dreamweaver. And then it's going to show it's going to look like an octopus. So let's just make sure it works. Okay, very good. Why do they have PCs in here?
Yeah.
Oh, because this is a gaming lab as well as a design lab, and most of the game software is PC. So they had to do that to accommodate that. Okay, raise your hand if you're having trouble or you have a question about downloading these fluid files. Okay, so you guys are all pretty good? Okay, so now I'm going to go to Dreamweaver, and we're going to look at this, this template for our happy octopus here. Okay, so what we know that you need to do, like that sample I showed you of the burger site, we need you to replace the logo with a miniaturized version of yours. We need you to change these links here. They don't have to go to anything right now, but you need to change them so that they're more appropriate for your site, whatever it is. We need you to change this graphic here and make something that's more appropriate for your site. And then we need you to put in a copyright at the bottom. And if you want to, maybe change the background colors of these divs, these boxes here, so that they match your design, right? Now, in order to be able to do all that, you guys are going to need to be able to find these pieces in here, these pieces of the puzzle, and manipulate them. So in order to do that, one of the best ways to do that is to open up Dreamweaver and to click on something on the right-hand side. Now remember, the right-hand side is what's called the front-end view of the website, which will show what the user will see. And the left-hand side is the code, which is the code, it's like under the hood of the Maserati, right? Now, if you go on the right-hand side and you click on this graphic, which is the pink octopus logo, it will highlight where in the code that is located, right? Now, once you have it highlighted, you can see what it's called. In this case, the file is called logo.ping, and you can see where it's located relative to where this web page is stored, and it's stored inside a folder called images.
Mine does not look like that. This one.
Okay, well, it's okay, just click on this, and then there it is.
Greg, while you're here, quick,
Yeah.
say, here's Dreamweaver, here's fluid files, how do I open it?
Okay, right click on it. Oh. Okay. Oh, you didn't extract it. You gotta hit extract all files. And then you gotta go to desktop, and then you gotta go okay, and then you extract. Yeah, it wasn't quite extracted. It lets you go into the folder before it's extracted. Okay, now when you open it, you can right click on this, and you can go to open with right and go to Dreamweaver. Thanks. And then you get that. Okay, now, by the way, here's another clue. If yours doesn't look exactly like this, come down to the bottom corner in the right here and click on this little icon that's the furthest to the left, which is the cell phone icon. And that will make it look like this layout. Because you guys are going, what the heck? It's big, it's weird, right? Okay, so anyway, if we click on this, it tells us that it's inside the images folder and it's called logo.ping. Now if we go back to the desktop, where our fluid files are, or wherever they are on your computer, and we look in the fluid files folder, which is this guy right here, we see that there's an images folder, and inside there is something called logo.ping, right? Now, if I were to take this file and to open it in Photoshop, right, we would see this, and we would be able to go into Photoshop and go under image, image size, and determine the exact size of this image in Photoshop. Now what that would allow us to do is to make a logo that is exactly this size and cover this one with our artwork and simply save it as the same name in the same location, and therefore replacing the pink octopus, right? So for example, let's say that I wanted to make a new design for this. I might click on my layer palette here and create a new layer in Photoshop. I might select all, and I might fill it with white, and I might call this, you know, my fake logo. Okay, and then all I would have to do is simply save it with the same name, and it would overwrite the octopus. And then when I went into this, I would see my fake logo instead of octopus. Now, I don't want to get rid of my octopus, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to give this a different name. So I'm going to go save for web. I'll save it as a ping file in the same location, which is inside my fluid folder, inside the images folder, and I'm going to call this logo2.png. Now, if I go to Dreamweaver, we can still see the pink octopus there, but as soon as I go to where it says logo.ping and I change it to logo2.ping, now my fake logo comes in. And that's how easy, well, it could be even easier for you. You can just name it logo.ping. That's how easy it is for you to change out this template and put your logo in. Now, the same exact thing applies for this image content right here. You click on that, it shows you that that one is called Pink Octopus Coupon. You go into your fluid folder and you find that, and you open it up, and you see there it is. You can go under image size, find out what size it is, 480 by 359, and simply repurpose it with your content and save it, and then that will appear. Now, you guys might be thinking, oh, this is too easy. You know, all we're doing is replacing his graph. We're not learning anything, right? Well, the idea is that we want to give you a simple and easy start for this process, because it's going to get more complicated. And believe it or not, you've already got plenty to deal with, because you have this website, which already has an index page, 3 different style sheets, and 2 JavaScript files all attached to it, and it's going to be a chore for you to learn where everything is, right? Now, let's say that the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and change the background colors of these guys. Now, you can see that those links themselves are very obvious. They're right here on the index page. You can change them very easily. But it becomes much more difficult to figure out how to change the background color of those divs right there. Now, here's a place where we can use Firebug, all right? So we can click on this little globe inside of Dreamweaver at the top left corner, and we can preview this in whatever document we have, whatever browser we have that has Firebug in it, right? So here we are. Here's my fake logo, right? Oh, here's I made an animation in the last class, so now I've got a pink octopus car wash text coming up there. Now, let's say that what we want to do is we want to change the color of these menu items, right? So we click on that, the menu pops down, and we see that these are all black. I know they're purple on yours, but I changed them to black, right? What I can do is I can click on Firebug, which opens up. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to go into Chrome because Chrome is just way easier for you guys to see. For some reason, it will zoom in on Chrome, but not on Firebug. Okay. So you guys can see that, right? Okay, so now I open up my header. Now watch what you do. You click on either the magnifying glass if you're in Chrome, or you click on the blue box with the blue arrow on it if you're using Firebug, and you roll over an area and it turns blue, and you click on that area, okay? And now what we see is that it has highlighted that link area, and over here it's starting to show us the CSS for that. Now we happen to know that this background is black, and black as a hexadecimal color is #000. So with that knowledge, I can scroll down through this a little bit, or maybe scroll up. Let's see, I guess I got to scroll down. Oh, and here I go. I found the CSS style, which says background #000. Now, if I want to change that as a preview, I can click on the 000. I can change it to, I'm just going to put in the word red, And now look, it changed. Now, once again, both Firebug and Chrome are temporary changes, right? So if I know that this can be changed here, I can go into my style sheet, I can scroll up a little bit, and I can see what it says right here, which is it says these styles below this are on a page called responsive-nav.css, and they're on line 23, right? So that means that if I want to change the background color to my menu, I can go into Dreamweaver. I can click on this link called responsive-nav.css, which is to the right of the source code link. And I can go down to line 23. And sure enough, at line 23, I see a style called .nav-collapse-A. And inside of there, amongst all the styles, I see background, which stands for background color, #000. If I go in there and I change that to be another color, like some obnoxious form of green, then it changes. Okay? And now I have changed it permanently because I've changed it on the style sheet. Now I know all you guys don't have Chrome developer tools turned on, and you don't all have Firebug turned on, so you may not have been following me exactly in each of those steps. But hopefully you get the idea that if you do use Firebug or Chrome or something like that, you can hover over an area, click on it, and the end result will be that you'll be able to determine both the HTML that is creating that section and the CSS and where to go to make your changes. Okay? Now, this is where we're all starting. You guys are all taking your designs that you've developed over the last couple of weeks. You're squishing down your logos. You're squishing down some image content. You're changing the color of the header, and you're changing the names of these links, and doing maybe a footer, anything else you think is interesting and would like to do to this mini mobile website. And when you've completed that, then we will move on to these other steps. But that is the task at hand. That's what you guys are working on. Now, let me go back and see if there's anything else for us to talk about today under web design. Okay. Firebug. Okay. All right. So, in addition to working on your website, you guys do need to keep up with the reading. We're up to chapter 5, working with CSS. And if you do the reading in the book and the chapters, it would be extremely helpful because we're working directly with HTML and CSS, and that will help you in your design projects. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. You can take the rest of the period to work on your designs and ask me questions. And does anybody have any questions right now? Yes, Nancy? Okay, right. It's a great question. So what Nancy said was, and I have violated my own rule about graphics. So what she said was, hey, there's Photoshop graphics, right, on this, and that's what you're not supposed to do. Now I did it just to demonstrate to you guys that you could make an image and then make it more interesting with graphics, right? So you guys, I'm going to allow you this time to do that as well. But the way we're going to get around this is when we design for the next stage, which is the tablet. Hi, your mouse is over there.
Yeah.
When we design for the tablet, I'm going to have you guys rip the text off of this and just use an image here, and then you're going to put in real text that's going to wrap around it. Okay, so that's how we're going to get around it. But thank you very much. We'll see you next week. But this was just a way for you to make a sort of a succinct mobile site, right? So you can do it this way, and then just keep in mind that we're going to go ahead and change it for the next version. That's a good question. Yes, Marshall?
I had a question talking about designing for different wireframes for different use.
Yeah.
Is there a way that the browsers can tell what device it's accessing?
That is such a great question. Yes, there is, and I'm glad you asked
I
it.
can make one for the phone and then make one for widescreen, you know.
Okay, and here's the answer to your excellent question, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to click over here to Code View, which is this button on the far left, so that we can see just code. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here at the top and I'm going to click on style.css. Okay? Now we're on the style sheet. Now the answer to your question is if we scroll up in the style.css to line 45, we see that the style sheet is actually divided into 3 sections. 1, 2, 3. Okay? The first section of the style sheet has something called a comment on it. And a comment is something which is grayed out. It's surrounded by a / and an asterisk, and then an asterisk and a /. I call it an asterisk sandwich, like the slashes are the bread and the asterisk is the food, right? And if you write something, for example, let's say I wanted to write a comment right here, and a comment is a piece of information for a designer, so I say, hey designer, you are so awesome, right? Now, because this is on a style sheet, a computer is going to think, oh, it's a style sheet. It must be a style. I should probably apply it to some section of the web page. Well, you don't want that. You want to make that a comment, which takes it out of the line of the computer processing. If you highlight it and then you click on this little, it looks like a little cartoon word balloon, and you choose to apply the asterisk sandwich comment, which is the second one, it will surround this with / and asterisks and make it a comment, right? And that's great for you when you need to give information about where things can be found, or maybe you're leaving information for another designer, because obviously if you make a website and then you leave the company, somebody else has to work on it, right? So anyway, I'll go ahead and get rid of this one that I did. But so here, the people at Dreamweaver, who, if you recall, we used a template called a fluid layout template, they have already gone in and made comments to help us out. And what they've said is, they basically said that when you hit this part of the style sheet, you are now using styles that are only for mobile devices with a width of 480 pixels or smaller. Okay? And so every style that you put in this area will only show up on mobile devices. Now, if you scroll down a little more to line 118, now you see a comment that says tablet layout for websites that have a width of 481 pixels to 768 pixels. And it says that it brings in the styles from the mobile layout, right? But of course, you can supersede the mobile layout. There, I'll show you some tricks to supersede the mobile layout with your tablet design and use bigger logos and different formats. And then finally, if we go down to line 150, we see desktop layout, 769 to 1232 pixel width, inherits styles from mobile layout and tablet layout, and once again, we can turn off the inheritance, and inheritance means it literally gets the styles from another location. We can turn that off if we want and make it so that both the desktop and the tablet have their own unique styles. So for example, this logo here that we see as small on the phone and larger on the tablet could be even larger still on the desktop, and we could save 3 different images at 3 different sizes, and then inside this style area is where we would tell it to go get that specific image for that specific layout. Or we might even be able to take one giant logo and put some code in that tells it to scale it down for these other formats, right? So there are some different options that you can use.
So the browser then can actually read these comments, and it knows what to display.
Right. And what these are called, go ahead and make some room here. Having different sections of your website that deal with different devices and different browser widths, this is called a media query. All right, and you can see right in this code right here, it's indicated by the @ sign, which is the A, and then media. So this means that you have entered a section of the style sheet which is a media query. A query is what? What's a query another word for? A question. Query is short for question. I just asked you a query, right? Now, a media query is a question that is asked by your website of the device it is looking at. So for example, if I go look at a website with my iPhone, it will tell the website I am looking at it on a screen that has a width of 960 pixels, right? Or 480 pixels if it's turned vertical, right? So it will automatically show me the layout for the mobile device, which is this. If I go visit it on my laptop, which has a screen resolution of like 1440, it will automatically show me the layout for, let's see, where am I? The desktop.
Rick, what in the code tells the browser where to go? How does the
It's
system
the
know
style
that?
sheet.
Okay,
style
how-
sheet.
how-
In
how
other
does
words-
it know?
In other words, my computer,
Right,
when it accesses the website,
right.
what it does, it first accesses the HTML page, which is called index.html, right? That index page is linked to a style sheet called style.css. So what happens is the computer hits that page and it says, okay, here's all the structure, here's all the divs and the architecture of the site, right? Then the computer goes over the style sheet and says, okay, now we're going to fill in all the colors, all the background colors, all the the logos, where those are and everything. But when it hits the style sheet, it sees the media queries, and the media query says, hey, if you're a little phone with a little screen, jump down to line 45 and show that stuff, right? So that's built into the web browser that's being used to access the website. In this case, Safari, right? So all web browsers are smart enough to read a style sheet and to know that if there's an @media sign anywhere on that page, they have to look at their browser and see what the width is and then display the appropriate styles for that width. That's how we get it so that when you are wearing an Apple Watch, that it's going to look right, and it's going to look right here, and it's going to look right on the desktop.
So it's the width dimension that actually is that's the piece of information.
Yes, that's how we differentiate between devices. Is the width is the maximum width that can display.
Okay.
So that means that the phone itself has two widths, right? The vertical,
You have up there in the media.
yeah, and the tablet has two widths, the vertical and the horizontal, and the desktop has one, right? So, good questions.
So the Dreamweaver then, when we look at these little icons down the bottom, it shows us the pad, the desktop, the phone.
Yeah.
Does that do the work for us?
No, it just displays it differently. Like if I go back here to split screen, and I have to, you actually have to pull this middle bar over by clicking on it and move it over this way to be able to see all of them. But if I click, right now I'm clearly on the phone. If I click on the tablet, it simply increases the width and shows me what my website's going to look like. And then if I go to here, but it's not doing the work for me. And if it did, I would just go home and let it give the lecture, right? But yeah, we're still going to have to do the work. We're still going to have to come up with different layouts, different size graphics, and all that good stuff. Okay? And that's what we'll move on to once we've got past this. All right, now, if you guys did notice, I did give you an extra week on the design or the deadline for this. If I go back to last week, you'll see that my original due date for this was the 30th, which would be next Tuesday, but I actually bumped it back to the 7th because I want to give you guys more time to work on this, and I want us to work together on it in class more so you have a thorough understanding of how this is working and you can make changes. Now, once you finish this, if you finish ahead of schedule, like you're finished next week or something like that, we'll start talking next week about how you'll start designing for your next project, which will be the tablet layout. And then you guys can get a jump ahead on that. Okay, so questions? Yes, Johnny.
Well, when you get a chance, then just.
You want me to look at something on your screen? Okay. All right, you guys are good to go. You can stay and work and ask me questions, or you can head home and work on it.
I just want to make sure I understand what task at hand is. This is your time.
Right.
I'm doing the wrought iron thing. So what I need to do then is to come up with
Logo, right?
this logo and
Some graphics,
some sort of graphic here.
right?
What, anything here?
Yeah. You would change. You see how these are the names
Right.
of those. You would change these to be more appropriate to your project. Like one might say, Iron Gallery, and one might say services. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then you could also change the background colors of these to match the graphics. And you could also change. There's a footer down here that has like. Let's see, I don't know what it is right now, but I guess it's like dragged up. Yeah, there's a flash. So you can change that to be here. You can either delete this. I think what I told you to do here is I'll put this line information here. I'm sorry. Okay, all right, sorry to hear that.
Some text perhaps?
Right, that would be a great thing. There's a picture up there and put some text in there. Okay, let me say that, Jared. Hey class, just one last thing. You know how in your demo, your Octopus template, I have that flash, and I think I told you in your like I have this flash thing here. I think I told you in the sheet where I asked you to redesign this to replace this with something too. So you're going to have a logo, you're going to have a graphic, and then you're going to have what's called the second section. And you can put text in there, or you could put another image, but just replace that with some content. Okay. All right. Let me